Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the current state of the welterweight division and why it is arguably the worst division in the UFC. Now, recently I've wanted to talk about this for a very long time, and it's a topic of discussion that not a lot of people are discussing at the moment for whatever reason. There's a lot of rumored fights in the welterweight division, but there's not a lot of official fights. And gun to my head, if you ask me, welterweight has kind of become the women's equivalent. It's become the equivalent of the women's flyweight division, the women's featherweight division, where Amanda Nunes was champion and there was not a single contender in the entire division. They literally have to look to sign fighters from other organizations or bring fighters from other divisions up to 145 in the women's division just so Amanda Nunes can get a single fight. You know what I mean? The welterweight division is completely dead. So let's take a look at the rankings right now. At number 15, we have Michael Chiesa, who just lost to Kevin Holland, at UFC 290 International Fight Week. Then you have number 14, Jack Della Maddalena, who just fought Bezel Hafez in a very close decision where he arguably could have lost. He was supposed to fight Sean Brady. Sean Brady pulls out. He looks for a fight the very next week. 7 days later, he's looking to fight again, cuts weight again, goes and fights Bezel Hafez, fights to a very close decision. Can't hate him, can't rip on him too hard for this fight. He did take the fight on literally 1 week notice. He had back-to-back weight cuts. Not a lot we can say from this matchup. Very meaningless. Bezel Hafez didn't really prove a lot in this fight other than, he can hang with the top guys, but it was a very deteriorated version of JDM. JDM didn't impress me either, though. But then we look on, number 13, Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland just got the win over Michael Chiesa, who's number 15. Kevin Holland fought at UFC 290. We keep going down, Neil Magny at number 12. Neil Magny just took an embarrassing beatdown to Ian Machado Gary. UFC 292, Ian Machado Gary made Neil Magny look like an absolute child. He was dragging his ass across the canvas, scooting his butt across the canvas, and it really paid off because he was making all those comments talking about, I've become accustomed to dishing out these beatings to my 5-year-old son or my 3-year-old son, whatever you're saying. And at the end of the day, Ian Machado Gary went out there and absolutely outclassed, dominated, and put a vicious beatdown on Neil Magny. Dropped him multiple times with leg kicks in the first round and completely schooled him. We keep going down the rankings. We got Ian Machado Gary just above Neil Magny. Then on top of that, number 10, Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque just fought RDA, who's a lightweight. RDA coming off of a huge hiatus because he had a brain bleed. Very interested. I was very interested to see what's going to happen in that fight as far as his chin and how he looked healthy-wise. That fight was a fight that I don't believe should have been made to begin with. Not only is RDA a lightweight, he's a career lightweight. He should not be fighting in the welterweight division. But at the end of the day, I don't believe Vicente Luque should ever fight again. If you are getting brain bleeds, and this is not to crap on him, if you are getting brain bleeds, it's time to call it a career. It's time to look at something else because what if that bleeds again? What if, we see Vicente Luque die in the octagon or have a serious medical emergency in the octagon? I don't ever want to see something like that, and that's a very sad reality. I would just completely step away from fighting if I was him, but I'm not a medical professional. Whatever his doctor says, you should probably listen to. We keep moving down. We got Sean Brady at number 9. Sean Brady was supposed to fight JDM, pulled out. Then below him or above him, we have number 8, Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal was supposed to fight Ian Machado Gary. Jeff Neal pulled out. Above him, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson hasn't fought since last year where he absolutely schooled Kevin Holland. Wonderboy has been sitting out since last year. He's supposed to fight Pereira at UFC 290. Not Alex Pereira, but he was supposed to fight Pereira at UFC 290. Eventually, his opponent misses weight by a couple of pounds. Wonderboy says he doesn't want to take the matchup. He doesn't want to give in to the fact that his opponent has a slight weight advantage. And, it is what it is. His opponent missed weight, but this is kind of rich coming from someone that talks about how he wants to make a run for the title. And I'm going to get into him later in this video, but Wonderboy Thompson has consistently talked about how he wants to make a run at the title. Why are you pulling out of fights then? You know what I mean? If he truly wants to become champion, if he truly has the Kamaru Usman blue-collared mindset, he would be taking that fight, going out there, schooling his opponent, and then looking for the biggest, baddest matchup. Instead, he doesn't want to fight this guy, doesn't want to fight that guy, etc. I'm going to get into this later in the video, but I'm just touching on it briefly right now. Above Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, we have Shavkat Rakhmonov at number 6. Shavkat's been sitting out since UFC 285, the John Jones card. And we've been waiting for another announcement. Usman was apparently asking to fight him. I do not believe Usman at any point wanted to fight him. And on top of that, Usman and Shavkat are training partners. Ian Machado Gary and Shavkat are training partners. So they've already talked about a lot of matchups with Shavkat because they all train together are not going to be made. And I believe Shavkat is the most ducked fighter in the UFC right now. It is absolutely crazy. Maybe outside of Khamzat Chimaev, nobody wants to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov, if I'm being completely honest. Above him, number 5, we have Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns just took a serious loss to, Bilal Muhammad back at UFC 288. He stepped in, him and Bilal both stepped in on like 2 or 3 weeks' notice, both signed to fight each other. No one pulled out. They literally just decided to fight each other on like 3 weeks' notice. And Bilal Muhammad goes out there, drops Gilbert Burns brutally in the first round. And then I believe it was either in the first or second round, Gilbert Burns goes to shoot in on a takedown because he's losing on the feet. And Bilal Muhammad sprawls on the takedown. He ends up on top of Gilbert Burns' paws, and Gilbert Burns' shoulder, because it made contact with the octagon in a weird way, as all of his body weight was on top of his shoulder. It caused a lot of stress on that shoulder, and a lot of ligaments and muscles or whatever tore inside of his shoulder. And he was essentially limited to a one-armed fighter in that fight, and he's going to be out for a very long time, suffering from injuries. Above him at number 4, Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev shouldn't even be in the welterweight rankings. Khamzat Chimaev is a middleweight. He is scheduled to fight in middleweight. I understand the rankings will update, once Khamzat Chimaev actually fights at middleweight. But Khamzat's been sitting out for a year. Above him at number 3, we have Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad, the whole situation with Gilbert Burns. Bilal Muhammad's probably sitting out waiting for a title shot right now. Above him, Colby Covington. Colby Covington hasn't fought since UFC 272. He has not fought in almost 2 years. And then above him, Kamaru Usman, who last fought at UFC 276. UFC London, lost to, Leon Edwards in a very close decision. And he's been sitting out since. Of course, Leon Edwards is the champion. I'm going to get into why everyone in the UFC welterweight division is on strike. And I kind of just discussed it already. When you look at all these matchups, the only people in the UFC welterweight rankings, the only guys in the top 15 of welterweight that are scheduled to fight each other are Jack Della Maddalena and Kevin Holland. They're fighting this week at UFC Noche, and it's ridiculous. You look at all these guys, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way 1 through 15, and the champion. Only 2 of them have a fight. There was only 1 scheduled fight in the entire UFC welterweight rankings. And that's absolutely ridiculous. And it's an abomination. Colby Covington, he beat Jorge Masvidal at UFC 272. He made not a quick turnaround, but a relatively faster than normal turnaround after losing to Kamaru Usman at UFC 268. Returns relatively quickly, just 4 UFC events later, something he's not used to doing. And he fights, he fights Jorge Masvidal, beats him 50-45, arguably 50-44. He's been sitting out since. He's been ducking on the sidelines. He's been hiding in witness protection. You got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. If you wrestled in middle school, if you own a wrestling singlet, if you have a wrestling singlet in your closet that you haven't worn since middle school, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson will not fight you. At this point, we should not be talking about him being, the NMF, the nicest MF. He should be fighting for the PMF belt. Wonderboy Thompson probably wakes up in the middle of the night and has cold sweats. He's probably terrified, waking up, sitting up, startled in the middle of the night because just the thought of the double leg takedown wakes him up. If you wrestled in middle school, Wonderboy Thompson will not fight you. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then all these injuries, Jeff Neal, injured. Sean Brady, injured. Vicente Luque just fought. RDA, not even in the division. Neil Magny, vicious beatdown. Gilbert Burns, injured. All these guys are injured. Bilal Muhammad sitting out for a title shot. Colby Covington sitting out for a title shot, which maybe is going to happen later this year, but I'm going to get into that right now. Colby Covington sitting out waiting for his title shot against Leon Edwards. Originally, Leon Edwards did not want to fight him. Colby wanted to fight on the UFC London card. He made weight for UFC 286. He wanted to fight again at the next UFC London, which was UFC 290, which eventually got scrapped and turned into International Fight Week in the States because Leon Edwards did not want to fight Colby Covington. Then suddenly Leon Edwards is all game to fight at UFC 294, suddenly all game, but then Colby Covington saying, no, I don't want to fight. Then Leon Edwards calling out Islam Makhachev at lightweight, not even a welterweight fighter, suddenly calling out lightweights. So, then they're ducking each other, saying, oh, you're ducking me. They're all ducking each other. Then we move forward. UFC 294 is not going to happen. We look at UFC 295, John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. It makes perfect sense. Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards co-main event. We could all make fun of Colby Covington for being co-main event Covington. But guess what? Colby Covington doesn't want to take that. Why? Because he has a personal grudge and gripe against John Jones. And he goes, no way I'm co-main eventing it under John Jones. At the end of the day, I don't believe it's because he has anything personally against John Jones. maybe he dislikes him as a person, but I don't believe it's like, oh man, John Jones is really the thing. No, what I believe is Colby Covington is afraid of being the co-main event of a pay-per-view. He does not want to be made fun of for being a co-main event. And if he was such a draw, the UFC would not want to be on a co-main event. They'd want it to be the main event of a pay-per-view. The way people always talk about, or Dana always talks about, oh, Colby's a draw, Colby's a draw. What pay-per-view outside of UFC 268, which was absolutely stacked, by the way, has Colby Covington been on headline that has sold over 500,000 pay-per-views? Not a single one. UFC 272 was rumored to sell somewhere between 200 to 400,000 buys. That does not sound like a global superstar to me. The kind of superstar that Dana White is constantly talking about when referencing Colby Covington. And you continue looking at the division, Leon Edwards, Leon Edwards last fought Kamaru Usman 6 months ago, earlier this year. It was either May or March this year. I forget exactly when it was. But, earlier this year, Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman fought. 6 months has passed. And I'm not expecting Leon Edwards to fight every 6 months. Although that would be nice. Not everyone does that. It would be nice if Leon Edwards fought 2 times a year. But Leon Edwards is known for being a relatively inactive fighter. And at the end of the day, Leon Edwards, it's been 6 months. He does not even have a scheduled fight. And at this point, you might ask me, okay, what do you want to do? You're always complaining. What would be my plan for the UFC welterweight division? If I was Dana White, if I was Hunter Campbell, if I was the matchmakers, what would I do? So this is what I would do. I would immediately cut Leon Edwards and make him fight Wonder Girl Thompson. I would cut Colby Covington from the UFC. He can go fight in the WWE. He can go fight for the American MF belt. He can go fight for the BMF title, all these fake, gimmicky promotional belts, these WWE-esque belts. Cut Colby Covington, strip Leon Edwards of the title, make him fight Wonder Girl Thompson in some sort of fantasy matchup that has absolutely no stakes on the division. Make them both unranked. Make Leon Edwards and Wonder Girl unranked. Then immediately for the UFC title, either give Usman back his title so we can get one of the greatest title reigns in UFC history. Kamaru Usman as champion was awesome. He was fighting Gilbert Burns, finished him. Colby Covington, finished him. Colby Covington again, had an amazing fight with him. Jorge Masvidal slept him out cold. Amazing title run. Amazing title run. And on top of that, he was active. He was constantly fighting. If Kamaru Usman was still champion, we would already have a fight. It would not be something where, it's already announced. Kamaru Usman would have already fought again. And the fact that Leon Edwards is champion, a guy who's known for only been fighting once a year, sometimes less, it absolutely sucks, and it's no surprise. It's no surprise. It's not like suddenly he got the belt and now he's going to be active. He's never been an active fighter, and he never will be an active fighter. So, like I said, either give Usman his belt back right now, or, make Usman fight, maybe Shavkat. Probably make Usman versus Shavkat, and then make Belal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov for the UFC welterweight title. If Kamaru Usman and Shavkat don't want to fight, whatever, maybe give, Kamaru Usman a fight with Colby. Maybe give Kamaru Usman a fight with, Gilbert Burns when he's healed up. Whatever. But get Belal Muhammad and Shavkat Rakhmonov, either or both. It doesn't matter. Either or. Get them in a title fight. It doesn't matter if Usman's the champion. It doesn't matter if it's the vacant UFC title. It doesn't matter. Get them in a title fight now. Either or. It doesn't matter. I want to see them. Belal Muhammad has an excellent claim to stake at the UFC welterweight title shot. He's on a crazy 8 or 9 fight winning streak. He just came off of a, championship level performance over Gilbert Burns. People are going to cry about the one arm. It was an incredible performance by Belal Muhammad, no matter how you look at it. Shavkat Rakhmonov is being ducked by everyone. Crazy win streak, undefeated. Every single one of his fights has ended in finish. He has a 100% finish rate. No one else at his rank can possibly say something even remotely close to that. He is never in a boring fight. Go rewatch his fight with Jeff Neal. That was absolute fireworks. It was a banger. It was a barn burner of a fight. And I'm so excited to see Shavkat Rakhmonov fight again. And I think that him versus Belal Muhammad is a very compelling matchup for the UFC welterweight title. If you disagree with me, that's fine. It's okay to disagree with me. I'm open to different opinions on MMA. I'm not one of these people that lives in an echo chamber where if you disagree with me, I'm going to ban you. Or if you disagree with me, I'm going to get all my subscribers or all my friends, whatever, to gang up on you. I'm open to discussion. I think that Belal Muhammad and Shavkat Rakhmonov should be in a title shot, either or. It doesn't matter. I believe Usman, I understand Usman's in a weird position because I want Usman to be champ again just because of the Usman era and how exciting and incredible it was. But at the end of the day, Usman's also needs to be fighting for the PMF belt himself. He's acting like Wonder Girl Thompson himself. He's calling out Wonder Girl. He's calling out all these guys. I think that Kamaru Usman is terrified of getting another loss on his record, because if so, he would be 0-3 in his last 3 fights. He would be on a 3-fight losing streak, and he would be in absolutely nowhere near the title. He is currently the #1 contender. If he finds himself fighting, who knows, a stylistically easy matchup like Wonder Girl Thompson, gets a win, he's already the #1 contender. He could very easily find himself in a title shot again. It doesn't matter. He could find himself in a title fight against Colby, against Leon, whoever it is, against Gilbert, Shavkat, doesn't matter. He could find himself in a title fight very easily. And also, what I believe Wonder Girl Thompson's trying to do is, I believe that Wonder Girl Thompson is trying to beat Usman. He's going, Wonder Girl's sitting there. He's going, I need to find the easiest stylistic matchup in the UFC top 15. He's going, okay, Usman's coming off of 2 losses. He's got 2-fight losing streak. He looks like he's over the hill. He looks like he's aging a little bit. If I eke out a win over Kamaru Usman, maybe I just keep him at range, put on a very boring decision. I will make my claim. I will make my stake and claim as the #1 contender in the UFC welterweight division, and I will just sit out and wait for a title shot. That's what I believe Wonder Girl Thompson's trying to do. He's trying to get a win over the easiest stylistic matchup he can find in Kamaru Usman, who seems to be aging, and he's going to sit out and just play a Colby Covington. He's going to role play as Colby Covington, sitting out and waiting for a title shot in the welterweight division, further holding up the division and making it even worse. It literally seems like the entire UFC welterweight top 15 is on strike. It's absolutely pathetic, and I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will see you guys in the next one.